So I've already taken off this whole mechanism. This is for the Boardnamics M1-AT drive. I've been fighting this motor pinion forever now as far as it coming loose. It's they're the helical cut, so when my fat ass gets on the board and we're running 20S, it tends to make that go loose in like 100 miles, maybe a little bit more. I've been fighting this the whole time. So I just wanted to do a quick little video on my experience and what I've tried and a couple things that you could maybe do, or maybe one thing that you could do to try and help. So what I've done already is, like I said, taking these off. You have the 3 screws. You have 2 right here. I guess I'll zoom in here. We got one right here, one right here, and these will all be on the outside of the box, right? One right here, and then one right here, but it's on the other side of the gearbox. So I kind of already put this on here, lined it up. I've done this many times as far as taking this off and putting it back on, just because I've ran into this issue a couple times. I'm gonna say you guys over here for a minute. But I'm just pushing this gear on right now so that it goes on there nicely. So I've already done the whole, you know, how far it should be, how much kind of play there should be. That's about how much play you should have if you're setting these up for the first time. You should have a little bit, not too much, but just a hair to where these can move freely. If I hadn't already glued the motor pinion off, I'd show you how freely this wheel pinion spins, but it spins really well. So what I've done this time, I've tried just the Loctite method. I don't know how people get that to work. I'm a 240-pound dude that, you know, is running about, I think this board's running about 8,000 watts peak. So she scoots a little bit, and I think that's what's causing this motor pinion to come loose. As you can see by here, I do have a little gap back here now, and that's just due to the fact that I just put a circlip on. So I just went to Harbor Freight, got me a little circlip kit. As far as this goes, this was $5, and then you're gonna need a little circlip or retaining ring set of pliers. This also picked up at Harbor Freight for like 10, 12 bucks, something like that. I put the smallest ring on. It's kind of a pain in the ass to get the retaining ring in there, but all I did was right behind the motor pinion, I kind of looked at the gap between here and the plate that you're mounting it to, and there isn't much, so which is cool because I just took my Dremel and essentially just cut away at this right here, like right where I wanted the motor pinion to start, which is right outside of here. That way I had a little bit more access. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but essentially I just cut a little groove in the actual shaft, and then I slid her on there and put a little bit of my little super weld on here, and it's light activated, so that's pretty cool. This motor pinion's already decently on there, but instead of putting another circlip on this other side like other people do, what I figured out is I kind of grinded this down as well, but this is a little C-clip that I found online. I believe this is a, it's not 1/4, but it's probably the same size as this C-clip here. So I think it's a 3/8 or 5/16 is what I believe it is. So I went ahead and grinded that down. It looks pretty solid. You can see that it's pushed up to that pretty well. So what I'm gonna end up doing here in a second is just putting this little screw back in here, screwing that on, and then go ahead and gluing that back in. That way, you know, like I said, this thing will try and last as long as it can. And I'll do a little review here in a little while and see how long this lasts. But like I said, for a little budget gear drive, or I guess something that's, you know, 300 bucks or something, whatever it was, it does a very good job, besides the fact that this motor pinion likes to come loose. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'll put a little time lapse of it on, and we'll catch you at the end. All right, so this is how much I put on. Everyone does it different, but this is about how much I do. I'll do a little test spin up when the case is on. It flings any of the excess off. So if you just got done putting grease on, I wouldn't recommend doing an open spin up. I've done it before. It flings grease everywhere. So we'll get a little time lapse of me putting the case back on, and we'll see how quiet she runs. All right, so we ran into a little bit of a hiccup here. I thought I had grinded down my C-clip enough to clear the casing, but what ends up happening when I put it on is it's not terrible, but because I put that C-clip on, there's a little bit, come on. Also note, when you're putting this on and the gear is inside, it's gonna be a little rough to mesh a little bit, so just spin the motor to help you mesh up the gears. Come on. I don't know what's going on here. All right, we're gonna take it back off. All right. Don't know what's going on with this gear. Okay. There we go. Okay, so she's just on crooked. So now we're on. So when I put this case on, what ends up happening is there's a little bit of a gap, and it's not huge. I mean, I've already shaved it down once, but because I put that C-clip on, there is a little bit of it wanting to have a gap. It just settles a little bit away, and it doesn't want to stay unless I push it, which means that this is rubbing. I can feel it rub. So I'm gonna shave that down just a hair more. We're gonna give her a little wipe down and grind it down a hair more. That way we are not having this issue no more. All right, so got the gear cover on. We're gonna do another test spin, see how she runs. One thing to note though is when you're putting this gear cover back on, just make sure when you do any modifications like this that this motor's spinning freely. If you at all feel like you're cranking too hard on your M4s or whatever they are, just lay off a little bit. I've stripped one of these cases before. It's not a good time. But I will say that I'll do this screw and this back screw first, and I won't tighten them all the way down until like I know that this motor's spinning freely, because if you're fighting the motor pinion and it's rubbing, you're not gonna win the battle. And I mean, even if you do get it shut and it's closed all the way, this isn't gonna spin freely, so there's no point in even doing it anyways. So we're gonna do a little bit of a test run here. So it's slowing down a little bit before the other one, but there's two bearings in here, so that might be part of the problem. You have the internal bearing that's under the wheel gear, and then you also have one that's like kind of in this O-ring, or as you would call it. I'm gonna go ahead and put that on. That's good. It'll wear in. It'll be all right. So we're gonna go ahead and put that wheel back on along with these. So one thing I will say about these is you always want to put blue. Sometimes I put red if I think that, you know, my gear is gonna last a while. I'll put the slightest amount of red just so this doesn't rattle loose. I've had this come loose before, and once these are unthreaded, it ruins everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick. So my last time lapse kind of got messed up, but to basically finish off the video, I know I rambled on a little bit about what exactly I did. All I essentially did was took my Dremel and did a little C-clip groove right next to the motor pinion on the inside, and put the motor pinion in, marked another spot. I was going to do another C-clip, but I figured I could do a C-clamp with the little like M2 bolt that you can screw in. All I did was, once that C-clip was on the inside, I glued on the pinion and the C-clip along with the keyway inside. And then once that was done, I went ahead and put that C-clamp on the outside of it, clamped it on, glued it on some more. The C-clamp has proven that it was good. The C-clamp I've had on there for a little while. The inside is the part that gave away that had the glue, so I added the C-clip to the inside, and we're going to see how she rolls. I'm pretty confident that it's going to hold, though, because now it has a reinforced to the glue, so it'll do pretty good. If you have any questions, let me know. I think I'm going to post this to the forum, too, just in the thread. So just hit me up. Have a good one.